Here's everything you need to know about the ultimate reversal setup. This is a combination of 3 reports that give you a data-backed bias and data-backed targets. So for this video, I'm going to be covering futures, NQ specifically in the New York session, and all the data that I'm going to look at is going to be in the last 6 months. So the first thing that we need to know here is these sessions. So right here, you can see I have my New York session right here. This is using my market sessions trading view indicator. You want to make sure that you have this one on, and you want to make sure that you turn off the Asian and London ranges. You don't want this to clutter up your screen. So you can see this indicator is going to plot out the ranges. You want to just have the New York session here. Now, the first report that we look at in terms of even thinking about your morning routine, right? Let's just zoom in here for a second. Let's pretend that we're in the morning. It's currently 9:05 in the morning, and we're looking to see like, what's my trading plan going to be? First thing that we need to look at is, where are we relative to yesterday's range? So opening above, opening within, or opening below yesterday's range. So first thing we notice, it's pretty obvious here that we're going to open above yesterday's high. Specifically, what I mean is the New York session high, which is right over here. I'll make this red, right? So now we know if we're going to open up here, which report are we going to look at to see some data for the day? I'm going to zoom in here. We're going to look at the outside days report on Israel. So what does this look at? The outside days report, and by the way, there's going to be a much more detailed explanation if you click on this button right here. Quick explainer video. You're going to scroll down, and you're going to look at this video. This goes over a lot of the details of how this report works. But to scroll back up, what do we see? Bullish outside day means that price opens above yesterday's high, which is exactly what's happening right over here. Price is opening above this red line, specifically the New York session high. And of every time that has happened, 70% of the time, price has reversed back down to touch yesterday's high or to touch this red line. So that is a bearish bias, right? So this is your first step to understand, what is my bias for the day? Should I expect continuation? Should I expect a reversal? You want to make sure that you always check the buy weekday and the buy size variance of these. But overall, this is going to cover every single day, regardless of the weekday, regardless of the size. So next thing we want to look at, this is great, right? This is a fantastic thing to look at, outside days, but you want to start to add layers of confluence here. So what's the next thing we're going to look at? The ICT opening retracement. You can see I have it bookmarked, but you can just go over here, type in ICT opening retracement. Really, really important that you guys check your customizations here. So if you guys change the settings, you want to make sure that you always are aware of that. What I mean right here is you want to make sure to double check what's over here. So what is this report measuring? Very, very similar to the outside days report, but it's measuring how often price opens right over here above or below the midnight price right over here, the open of the midnight candle. So you can see right down here, I'm at the midnight opening price at 00, and I'm looking at the open of that candle. What this report measures is, for every time we open above this blue line, how often do we retrace to touch it? Or if we open below, how often do we bounce to touch it? You can actually change the time. The time is completely, it doesn't actually matter. You can make it 6 a.m., you can make it 3 a.m., it doesn't really matter. But the idea is, this is another reversal strategy, right? You want to know for every time it opens above, what is the reversal, reversion to the mean? This is what we're looking for with this setup here, the ultimate reversal setup. So what you can see is that 65% of the time in the last 6 months, price has retraced back for every time it's opened above. So obviously today, I'm going to mark out the opening price. I'll make it green. Let me just get this, make it green here. So this is the opening price of the New York session, obviously opening above these two levels. If you are not happy with the 65%, you can always play around with the settings like you saw I had before, 6 a.m. So if you go to 6 a.m., what happens is 74% of the time, every time price opens above, it will retrace. So what that means is, just to zoom in for a second, if we look at 6 a.m., we want to move our level here to be right over here, right? So the open of the 6 a.m. candle. So now what you can see is that 74% of the time price has retraced to this blue line here. So either one, You pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't really matter. The idea is you can change it to actually move the level around. So we have two reports now that are giving us bearish bias on the day. This is the ultimate reversal setup. There's one last one that we're going to look at, and it's the gap fill. So this is actually the weakest of the three, at just under 60%. We're looking here at the gaps up in the last 6 months. So what is a gap fill? We're going to go and we're going to plot out the previous session's closing price. I'll make that yellow. And you can see here, we have our three key levels, the blue, the red, and the yellow. Now, you can see right in the morning, price flushed to your ICT opening retracement level, which in this case is no longer midnight, but it's at 6 a.m. price, and then bounced, right? This over here is a great opportunity. Realistically, if you took this trade here, you probably got stopped out at break even for the runners. So this is your opportunity to add back in to that short bias trade, because we have these three reports that are telling us that there is a very strong bias to the downside today for this level right here and this level right here to be hit. So how to maximize your winning days is to hold on to your winners when you have strong bias in your favor. Now, this is not going to set up every single day. So I will, right here, this is actually a pretty good example. So let me clean up these drawings here. What you'll notice first thing is that price is not opening outside of yesterday's range. So already outside days is not in play today. But then you look at the previous close, you look at that gap fill report, and then where is that midnight opening price? Right over here, right? And then what we see, so the midnight open, I'll make it blue for consistency. I'm going to mark out the today's open. So what do you see here? Price opens between the midnight open and previous day's close and within yesterday's range. This setup is completely out of play today. This is not in play because you have a bunch of opposite bias, right? Now, it did end up touching both sides, but the idea is you want to take this trade when price is all three of these reports are either bullish or bearish, right? So we either open below all of them or above all of them, and you want to take that reversal. So there are a few examples. Here's another one. It's been setting up really nicely recently. So if you go right here, I'm going to make that previous day's high red. Again, that's the outside days report. We're going to go to that previous close. We'll make it yellow. And then that midnight open, or even that 6 a.m. open. So midnight open is going to be right over here. I'll make it blue. And then we have, again, the ultimate reversal setup. When you see this happen, you want to be targeting this area. You don't really want to be expecting one of these. Now, it's going to happen. Obviously, this will happen when price opens above all of them. But this is the setup that you're looking for. You're looking for that reversal, right? Now, if you want to make sure, so let's look at the gap fill for a second. You want to go to the by size report and the by weekday report. Make sure to check out the explainer videos at the bottom of the screen down over here, because this is going to be really important for you to understand what's actually going on. But what you'll notice here is that every weekday does not behave the same. Obviously, we're looking at Mondays here, Tuesdays, like look at this. Mondays, the gaps actually tend not to fill, and then Tuesdays, 75% of them are filled, right? Gaps up specifically. And you can see how the data changes based on the weekday that you're looking at. So make sure you check the stats here before you take this trade, because it might not be great for that specific day. And obviously, this is going to update as the market environment shifts, but this is the ultimate reversal setup. If you guys have any questions, please reach out to our support, ask. We actually do have it. We have an AI agent, but we also have a full team. So please don't be shy to reach out.